of an institution like Food Safety and Quality Authority, there will be significant contribution to improving the wholesomeness and safety of imported food products, and to reducing levels of rejections of consignments of Gambian products, particularly groundnuts and fishery products in export markets. Buba SMCC, GRTS.
There will be a live firing exercise by Recruit 33A of the Gambia Armed Forces at the Lance Corporal Bojan Range in Brikama from Friday 16 to Sunday 18 August 2013. A news release from the Armed Forces states that the exercise seeks to assess the recruits' weapons handling techniques, individual marksmanship, and introduce them to military life and skills. The general public, especially people residing around the range in Brikama and its satellite villages, are therefore cautioned to avoid the designated area during the exercise. The cooperation of the general public is here highly solicited. The dispatch ends. We'll be back with news from outside the Gambia after this break. Welcome back. The Nigerian military says it has killed one of the leaders of the Islamic militant group Boko Haram. His name was Muhammadu Bama, and according to the army, he was the second in command and his father the spiritual mentor of the group. The military said both men were killed earlier this month. Boko Haram has launched a number of attacks in Nigeria over the past few years and is suspected of a massacre on Sunday at a mosque where gunmen killed 44 worshippers. We have more on that development.
Horrific mosque massacre which is being blamed on Boko Haram militants. Nigerian military is now releasing details of their fight back, which includes the death of the two Boko Haram commanders, Abu Sa'ad as he's known, and his father. But this of course all comes as Boko Haram's leader Abu Bakr Shakau releases a pretty belligerent video message. Take a listen, Manisa. The latest video message from Boko Haram leader Abu Bakr Shakau. Pausing throughout to burst into laughter, Shakau claims responsibility for a recent spate of attacks across the northern Nigerian states of Borno and Yobe. The Nigerian government and its allies, Shakau says, have failed to contain Boko Haram, which adheres to its interpretation of strict Sharia law. We've killed countless soldiers, he says, and we're going to kill more. Our strength and firepower is bigger than that of Nigeria. Nigeria is no longer a big deal to us. As far as we're concerned, we will now comfortably confront the United States of America. The Nigerian military say a week before this message emerged, they had killed Shakau's second-in-command, Mamadou Boma. Something Shakau makes no reference to here, but military sources say they believe that could be behind this latest show of belligerence. This message was released around the same time that news broke of worshippers being gunned down in a mosque in Borno State. It's not known who carried out the attack, but police sources told CNN it bore all the hallmarks of the militant group. In the last 4 years that Boko Haram has waged its campaign of terror, the group has targeted churches, government buildings, aid organizations, even schools. It's also attacked Muslims that it accuses of collaborating with the government. Since May, Borno State has been under a state of emergency, including a complete communications blackout, as Nigerian authorities hunt suspected militants. But local authorities tell CNN with no end to the violence in sight, some residents are taking matters into their own hands by arming themselves against the militants. This with the video message from Abu Bakr Shakau ringing loud. Whether Muslim or Christian, he says, we shall continue to kill anyone who stands against the will of Allah by opposing Sharia law. Those Nigerian military operations across the 3 states that Boko Haram claims as its base are still continuing.
come in Cairo 1 day after Egyptian forces cracked down on supporters of ousted President Mohamed Morsi. But Wednesday's toll is still coming to light. The health ministry now reports 525 people were killed. It was the bloodiest day since the 2011 revolution that removed Hosni Mubarak. A defiant Muslim Brotherhood says the protests will not stop. The two main Morsi camps are now cleared, but how violence started depends on whom you ask. Reza Saya reports.
The anguished cries of outraged and grief-stricken Egyptians. Everywhere you looked, gut-wrenching scenes. Along a bloody sidewalk, a teenager sobbed as he knelt before his dead brother. Steps away, a woman cradled the body of her dead husband in the backseat of a car. The bloodshed and despair, the aftermath of one of the deadliest days Egypt has seen in decades. For weeks, Egypt's military-backed interim government had promised to crush this massive 6-week-long sit-in demonstration in support of the ousted President Mohamed Morsi. On Wednesday morning, they delivered with a ferocious crackdown. Authorities claim initially they used tear gas and water cannons to scatter protesters. They say Morsi supporters fired first. They were forced to fire back, they say. What followed was hours of gunfire as security forces pushed in and Morsi supporters pushed back.
We're right next to one of the front lines in this fight, one of the many face-offs here where you see Morsi supporters barricading themselves in with a makeshift wall made up of anything they could get their hands on. And then to my right here is the heart of the battle zone. Charred debris, tree branches. The aim of security forces is to penetrate this entrance, but at least 6 hours into this fight, they seem to be holding strong.
At a nearby hospital and makeshift clinic, there was little room for the mounting casualties. Many had suffered gunshot wounds. These 3 volunteer doctors claim security forces stormed the hospital and forced out the medics, effectively leaving scores of bloody bodies in government custody.
They put their guns in our faces and said, you have to leave in 5 minutes. And we told them that there are many people, many injured people bleeding inside the hostel. And they said, it's not your business and go out now.
By roughly 6 p.m., according to witnesses, security forces had taken full control of the sit-in, demolishing hundreds of tents and torching protesters' belongings. Thousands of angry Morsi supporters, many of them walking wounded, left in despair. For Egypt's military-backed interim government, it was mission accomplished at a steep cost. But the fury of Morsi backers in the Muslim Brotherhood signaled a movement determined to keep fighting. Reza Saya, CNN, Cairo.
1 year after police opened fire on a group of striking miners in South Africa, there has been another shooting death at the same time. A South African local union representative was shot dead there on Monday. This Friday marks 1 year to the day police shot workers at the Marikana mines. Now the company said police are investigating Monday's death. CNN's Nkepeli Mabusi brings us the latest.
Speaking to people who were directly affected by that tragic incident that unfolded on the 16th of August, many of them say 12 months down the line, nothing much has changed. In fact, some analysts here in South Africa are saying that the underlying issues that led to that tragic event have not been dealt with. You mentioned earlier that the violence continues in the Marikana region. This violence blamed on labor union rivalry. I recently tracked down the family of one of the men who was killed during that incident, and they say life for them has become painfully harder. Take a look. He became known as the man in the green blanket, an outspoken leader during a wildcat strike at Lonmin Platinum Mine last August that shook South Africa and shocked the world. Police say most of the mine workers were armed and dangerous, but at the time, 34-year-old Mqineni Noki told CNN theirs was a peaceful protest for improved pay. Noki never made it back to work. He and 33 of his colleagues died in a hail of bullets in a clash with police a few hours after that interview. Many say the scene was reminiscent of the dark days of white minority rule known as apartheid. The government set up a commission of inquiry, but its work has been marred by delays. A year after that dramatic shooting, I've come to the Eastern Cape where most of the victims lived. What I find is raw